Hello, I'm Casey Young, and now we're going to argument two. This is climate change and the professional responsibility that goes with it. The argument here is that engineers have a responsibility to mitigate climate change in both professional and personal life. A couple things about it. The point here is many greenhouse emissions do come from industries that are enabled and represented by the engineering professional institutes. I mean, it's a lot of manufacturing, development. Those do emit a lot of greenhouse gases that do, have environmental concerns, and that is a big thing in the industry. If an engineering profession sets your standards or penalties to those who refuse to comply, this could have a significant impact to curb the climate change. So if there's, sanctions that are going to penalize companies who don't follow these rules, that would incentivize them, to be more environmentally friendly. And I mean, there are some, but stricter ones or make them more globally to help impact the negative effect of the climate change is happening here. You could revoke licenses, just be maybe harder, different penalties, and it's expensive too, to be more environmentally friendly. So tax breaks in a sense to maybe offset some of the expenses, or maybe tax breaks and grants to help give to companies so they can be more environmentally friendly. Engineers as a group are well placed to control and influence the development of key industries responsible for the emission. So that is our job. We are in the right spots to develop and to make them better. Our job is to design, make things more efficient, make things better. And I mean, if he's going to do it, it would be the engineer's job to do this. Many engineers do recognize the problem, but still enable core emitting activities such as fossil fuels and manufacturing of commercial and industrial goods. So a lot of people in the job, if you work for a fossil fuel company, you obviously know it's global impact or climate change has some impact on you, and your job has a negative impact on the climate change. So maybe, raising more awareness to them to help them realize that what they're doing and help them, develop better, safer, more efficient ways. Also, engineers have a significant degree of deserved public voice. Engineers, it's a good job. People look up to engineers, they listen to them. They're educated people. So if an engineers as a society comes out, or with an organization that, has helped fight climate change, that's gonna have a bigger impact than, another society or somebody else doing it too. The second part, in the NSPE fundamental canons, the very first one, hold paramount the safety and health and welfare of the public. If you're just from the climate, you're obviously not doing any of that. I mean, that hits the nail right on the head right here. The professional obligations, it says engineers are encouraged to adhere to the principle of sustainable development in order to protect the environment for future generations. Same thing, it's the environment's not as bad. It's not awful now, but it's way worse than it was 20, 40, 60, 80 years ago. And it's going to be way worse than it was today in 20, 40, 50, 60 years. In the NSP, they did put a little thing of about 10, 50 years ago about it. And it says, for the sustainable development, it says sustainable development is the challenge of meeting human needs for natural resources, industrial products, energy, food, transportation, shelter, and effective waste management, while conserving and protecting environmental quality and the natural resource of base essential for future development. So I mean, the same thing, just you want to do good to help the future generations. Also, we kind of touched on before, engineers who don't know the environmental effect of their work, they're dropping the ball. Some people aren't aware how bad it is. I mean, they realize it, but they don't realize how bad it is getting. Maybe ongoing training and will help them raise awareness for this. We helped create the problem during the Industrial Revolution. The manufacturing that all kind of took place. That was when, a lot of the car emissions, smoke, and we create cars, planes, trains, etc. that, it pollutes the environment making those, and they, in turn pollute the environment even more. So helping, it maybe is our responsibility to help that. The younger generation wants to work for a firm that is making a difference. Interviewers that are hiring people say that younger people a lot of young candidates do want to work for jobs that are making a difference, that are impacting people, done for the good of the people and the world. And to touch on some utilitarianism, it is the greatest good for all people. look at the consequences. I mean, helping, green energy, cutting back carbon emissions, the carbon footprint. I mean, it's good for everybody. There's really not anything bad about it. I mean, look at the consequences as phenomenal consequences. Consequences are awful if we keep using fossil fuels and doing what we're doing. Engineering's primary purpose has been progressing and enhancing the social well-being. I mean, there's really no better way to do it than helping out with the climate change and help saving the earth that we live in. Lastly, engineers always consider risk analysis. So, you're not going to design a bridge that would have a 10% chance of failing in its lifetime. So why are you designing something else, a building infrastructure, a machine that has a risk of making the planet have a climate disaster, in the relatively short term here in the next 50, 100 years. So a lot of things to consider here.